In today's video, we are going to be breaking down Enzo Maresca's tactics against Fluminense in the Club World Cup semi-final. Now, first off, looking at the tactics, it does look like a 4-3-3, but do not let this fool you because during this entire match, we definitely saw flexibility from the players and from Enzo Maresca. Now, first off, we need to talk about a few key players. Now, the first one being Neto, and he was allowed to play this entire left side throughout this entire match. This was his area to dominate throughout this game. It did not matter who was there, they left him have almost this entire left wing. And during this match, typically you would always see Cucurella pushing up, but that did not happen this match. Instead, we saw Malagusto push up on the right side, and we will talk about him a little bit later. But because Cucurella did stay back, this again was where Neto did do most of his damage because he was able to have all this extra space. So anytime a ball was played, they were playing it over the top, and we will dive into that a little bit later. But like I said, this was one key factor in this. Now that being said, when we talked about the 4-3-3, a lot of times this almost turned into a 5 attack, if not a 6 attack, and Caicedo just holding the midfield. Now, looking at his heat map, you can see this man was a brick wall throughout this entire match because he was holding down this midfield this entire game. And this isn't the first time we've seen him do this because he does this match in, match out each and every single week. If he is hurt, this could be a detrimental player for Chelsea for the upcoming season, but if he stays fully fit, they can do so many different things because of Moise Caicedo. Now, like I said, because he was able to hold this line, it did allow Malagusto to push up into this area. Now, like we've seen before, this then turned into a back three. Now, you could say that this left plenty of extra space in these areas, and we will dive into that in just a bit here. But like I said, because Malagusto could push up, this allowed them to actually facilitate the ball to many different players. Now, obviously, Fluminense wanted to defend these areas, so they did hold some lines in these areas. But what Chelsea were actually able to do during this time was actually take players back and receive the ball further out. Now, it wasn't just Malagusto. We saw Palmer drop back to pick the ball up. We also saw Enzo Fernandez drop back to pick the ball up. There are countless players that could keep dropping into open space in these areas, which made it very difficult for Fluminense to actually defend because they did not know which player to pick up. So anytime Palmer dropped back, they would try to push this way to defend. And yes, they could do that, but then all we'd have to do is cycle the ball out to Fernandez or even to Neto, which, like I said, made it very difficult for them. And like I said, if Fernandez dropped back, he could then play the ball to Neto. He could play the ball over the top to Christopher Nkunku. There were just so many different options throughout this entire match. Now, if we back it up just a little bit, we do want to talk about Christopher Nkunku as well. Now, granted, he has had a rough go this past season at Chelsea, but this tournament has shown some light on his potential, and there is a possibility that he may still go to Bayern Munich, but right now he's been playing very well for Chelsea, especially out on this right wing. This was probably his best match as a Chelsea player, and he was able to dominate this entire right side. Now, probably part of that reason was Malagusto was able to push up with him. He used to play as almost a second striker. I think Malagusto being this close to him allowed him to do some of the things he used to do. We had overlapping. We had him dive into the middle. We had him drop back as well. All these played different roles in how Nkunku could actually control this match. Now, again, what we do want to look at as well is Cole Palmer, because what he was also able to do, as we talked about earlier, he was able to drop back, but then he was also able to float this entire area. Now, granted, as he floated one way, Fernandez could drop back, João Pedro would even drop back, Christopher Nkunku could slide in, or even Neto could drop down back a little bit, and this is what makes it very difficult for any team that has to defend against Chelsea, because when you're trying to do one thing, they have so many different options to work the ball around, and it's very difficult, because even João Pedro dropping this far back, again, teams do not know who should go out there and defend him, because if he comes this far back out, now Palmer, Fernandez can definitely step up. And if they receive the ball, we've seen Palmer do this, where he takes the turn and hits the ball from out here and is able to slot it into the back of the net. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez has a shot on him himself. So like I said, there's countless times that players aren't sure how to defend this. Now, one of the things we do need to look at this, though, too, is how we actually defended them, though, too, because obviously Chelsea didn't have 100% possession. Anytime we did drop back and we saw 4 back here, say Caicedo here, Enzo back, Palmer even helped out, and Cuckoo and even João Pedro helped out. So we're seeing something along the lines of this type of box area. Now, like I said, this makes it very difficult for teams obviously to break down. Not saying they can, but like I said, this is a little more difficult. But this is where Neto came into play because he is holding out on his own out here. And because of this, he is almost an outlet. He's in the release valve. So anytime we would win the ball, we were able to play the ball over the top to Neto. And this has actually led to the first goal because when we were able to play the ball out here, he was able to drive down here. And if you actually look at the picture on the cross, there wasn't a single Chelsea player in the box he crossed to. So yes, he made the cross that did lead to the goal, but really it was a bad decision because there was no one playing there. But the ball did obviously drop to Pedro, who obviously hit a beautiful shot. But like I said, the reason why this did work is because Neto had so much space, and we know how fast he is and quick with his feet that, like I said, a lot of times defenders don't know how to deal with this. And as he runs up, obviously we have trailing players coming here with Pedro, we have Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, even then Cuckoo, and like I said, Mal Gusto in this game was going for, but in other games we could even see Cucurella doing this as well. So like I said, this makes it very difficult because as Fluminense or even other teams start pushing down and trying to attack it, Chelsea are always having counterattacking opportunities to again beat you on a fast break. And like I said, we have multiple players that can run in these spaces, and this is just some of the players. We obviously have Liam Delap who can do this. We have Nico Jackson, just to name a few other players that, like I said, can beat players on their pace and also on the counterattack. Overall, I do believe Enzo Maresca got his tactics right. Yes, he had to be a little flexible with some of the players, like I said, because of the yellow cards that we accumulated here. Like I said, João Pedro did start over Liam Delap, and I do apologize. Colwell was in this area who actually did not start in this game. I just realized that now as I'm talking about this entire video. But like I said, we had to be flexible with some of the players due to suspensions. But like I said, I think overall these players played very well, and they are now in the final where they'll play PSG. We will have a match video about that and how they can actually beat PSG and how they can break them down. But in this video, this was just about how they beat Fluminense. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I greatly appreciate if you do hit the like button, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video.